In many areas, in many technology areas, China is already at the cutting edge. Not in all, but in many. Now, to see how things work in China, we have this case study about this gentleman over here, who, as I told you 1 year ago, was sitting over here, and Jack Ma, right? So we have him over here, and basically he's showing us, he decides to go into a new area. I mean, what do you think Jack Ma's big dream is? If you put yourself into his shoes, what is his vision for the future, for him and his company? He wants to be the greatest in the world in what area? He wants to be the greatest, of course, e-commerce platform in the world. What else? He wants to issue credit cards for Russians, give maybe small loans for small and medium enterprises. He may want to, finance projects here. Right, he's in e-commerce. Of course, he wants to be one of the top e-commerce platforms in the world, but maybe he's going to be the next Goldman Sachs or Citibank, right? And look what he did. He started in 2013 with a product called Yuebao. Yuebao is basically, PayPal, right? You're all familiar with PayPal. You leave money on Yuebao to buy on the money you have left over. That's what it means. Yuebao in Chinese means leftover treasure. So you have some money left over that you don't use for e-commerce. You know what? In PayPal, you don't get any interest. You get zero interest. In Yuebao, in Alibaba's product over here, financial product, you get interest rates that are higher than the interest rates that are being offered by the Chinese banks. Now, what do you think happened in China's financial system after Yuebao was introduced? What do you think happened if all of a sudden, you get all those nice interest rates? Close to running on the banks, absolutely, right? And of course, Jack Ma is not happy because the big banks are telling, the government, listen, guys, Jack Ma doesn't have a banking license. He's not a bank. But there is a run on the banks, the equivalent of $100 billion. Imagine that, $100 billion in 9 months. Move from the banking system, traditional banking system, into this new financial products. The big banks are telling the government, Jack Ma should not do it, Alibaba should not do it. And then it's up to those guys over here, who you all know them, right, to decide whether they give Jack Ma a banking license or not, right? In the US, in the UK, in Europe, in Russia, you could not do it, right? You could not manage 100 billion without a banking license. China is interesting, right? I mean, China is in many ways more flexible, but do you think that Jack Ma got a banking license or not? What was their decision? Did they give it to him? Or they said, no, give the money back, you cannot do that. He didn't need one, but eventually he had to apply for one, right? And then he got it, right? Would you say that he got it? Yes, I mean, here, look at the Financial Times, right? And Alibaba wins approval for a bank license, right? So very interesting situation. It also tells us a lot that things in China work a little bit different than things in the West, right? There's maybe more room for experimentation, more flexibility. And this is all very interesting. This is all things we want to learn into more depth.